One word that I find absolutely disgusting. Sorry to talk about things I hate so much, but I just hate a lot of stuff, and that's just... It's easier to hate things than it is to like things. I'm the first to admit that. I'm the first to admit that it's much easier to be dissatisfied with stuff than to admit, everything is okay. And you think maybe to yourself that you do that because other people will perceive you as being weak, or weak-willed, or weak-spirited, or just have little, like, baby muscles in your bones, and they'll think that maybe you're weak because you don't know how to be rude and tough and cold and dissonant and not let anybody else in to your thoughts and feelings and opinions. Because, God forbid, why would you do that? Why would anybody do that? I don't know. It's hard for me to ascertain that sort of information when I've never been on that side of the field. Like I said, I've always been I'm the kind of person who, when I have anger issues, I know where that anger comes from. I know that it's not coming from anybody else besides myself. I'm the only one who's dissatisfied with myself, and I'm the one who just kind of brings all this anger in. I was going to say something else when I first started. One word that I hate is froyo. And if you want to know why, I'll tell you. It's because froyo is a combination... First of all, it's a combination of two words, where they take the first couple of letters from each of those words and then turn it into one word, and then they think that that's a thing. And then they are later legitimized when computers start not auto-correcting words like froyo, because they think it might say something else like Frodo or Furby or something like that. They think that maybe they were trying to type in a different word, and because they typed in froyo, that they misspelled it, but now it's to a point where when you type in froyo, the computer knows what you're talking about, and they'll even capitalize the F and the Y as though it was some sort of proper noun or something like that. Like when you type in YouTube on your cell phone, it capitalizes the Y and the T in tube. And I'm like, why do you do this? It makes me look insane. Honestly, I'm the kind of person who I don't like to use proper grammar when I'm texting, only when I'm writing stuff. Because at the end of the day, who cares? It doesn't matter to anybody else besides me what sorts of things I write on my cell phone, what sorts of things I write to my friends. And they'll be like, well, you could use better grammar. I guess they have a point. It does make you look very unprofessional when you use the letter U instead of the word you, or the letter I instead of the word I, that kind of thing. That's kind of what I'm talking about. Or when you type in you are, like like your, like somehow is supposed to not sound like a caveman grunting or sound like some sort of ancient Sumerian civilization, as well as Uruk, and the third one, whose name I never remember, Sumeria. Maybe that was either the country or something like that, or the city. I don't know. Any of that cradle of civilization crap. I'm not too big into that kind of stuff. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to me that people lived that long ago. That frightens and confuses me, and because of that, I don't accept any of that as legitimate. Because when it comes down to the very basics, the very nitty-gritty, the bare bones, I like to just assume that things are now the way that they have always been, including up to and thereof 1 year ago. Honestly, when they elect a new president at the end of this year, I'm actually part of that process, because I will be voting this year for the first time ever, because I really do not want Rodham to win, because I think that Rodham is an evil person, only because she was videotaped throwing a baby into a juicer and then laughed about it. If she didn't laugh about it, I guess it wouldn't have been as big of a problem. But it was just the fact that she laughed about it that really disgusted me the most. It's not like laughter is inherently evil, but when you laugh when you do something that a sociopath would do. Now, if it was like a hitman or something who had a shaved head, of course, and he wore a suit, or maybe he wore one of those Russian hats with the ear flaps on the side of it, or whatever, it doesn't matter. And he threw the baby into the juicer, pardon me, coughs, and you saw him do that, it would be like, well, maybe he had a reason for doing that. You might think his cause is a little bit more legitimate because he didn't smile or even show any sort of human emotion when he did that. You almost might think he was some sort of some sort of robotic operating buddy. And because of that, you'd be like, man, I don't want to screw with that guy. But when you see somebody like Rodham throwing a baby into a juicer and then laughing about it, you want to run over to her, like smack her in the face and be like, hey, what do you think you're doing? And then she'll say, I'm just doing my duty as an American citizen. This baby was going to grow up to be a terrorist because he had been abducted by terrorists, and he was being taught how to fly planes, and he was being taught how to make napalm, and he was being taught how to respect Nazi Germany, and I'm making a difference. And I would say, well, he's only 1 year old. He doesn't even know what the word Nazi means. And then she'd be like, yes, he does. I taught him. And then she'd cover up her mouth like she didn't mean to say that. And then it would be all exposed. But sadly, life doesn't work that way. Life isn't a comedy a situational comedy. That's what sitcom means. Sitcom is short for situational comedy. Bet you didn't know that. I think I was talking about avocados a couple of episodes ago. So there's this cat who lives in my house. Don't know how he got here. Don't know where he sleeps. Don't know what he eats. But whenever I'm making or cutting an avocado, he likes to come over and wait for me to drop the seed on the ground, because he will start whacking it with his cat hands. And when he starts doing that, I can't get the seed back. And if you've ever cut an avocado, you know that seed gets real slimy. It's real gross. And it starts sliding everywhere, and it makes everything that it touches green, like it's toxic or something. And trust me, it's not toxic. Avocados are nice people. But the cat starts whacking it around. And he thinks it's a ball. He thinks it's a fun playtime. He thinks he's having fun. Well, really, you're just trying to get your breakfast, your proteins, your oleic acids, and your fatty acids. And this cat, he's just hassling you. He's just heckling you. It's just a real bad time for everybody. It's not what you wanted to do this morning. You woke up on the wrong side of the bed. You know, your alarm clock went off late for some reason. I guess when you were asleep, you set the time backwards somehow, even though on standard alarm clocks, you can only set time forwards. And if you want to go backwards, you have to go all the way around through the settings and go back to, like, if it's set to 3:10, you're going to wake up at 3:10 for some reason, and you want it to get set to 3:05, you have to go all the way around from 10 to 20 to 30 to 40 to 50 to 0 to 5. And that's just a huge hassle. You don't want to have to go through that, but somehow you did that in your sleep and you woke up late, and now you're going to be late for work, so you just want to eat an avocado real quick so it gets your energy all charged up. And the cat, he's not going to let you do that. He's going to think that you're going to play games with him. He's he wants to go outside. He's got that little jingle ball, or he's got catnip. He wants to get high. That's what cats like to do. They like to get high. If you've ever seen videos of big cats like lions and tigers, they behave just like little cats, like little household domestics. Whenever they eat catnip, they start rolling around at the speed of sound, and climbing into boxes and shit like that, and then covering up their faces, and just kind of their eyes go wide, and it's like, well, this cat's high as shit. And it's funny because for some reason Seth Rogen is funny. Big cats getting high on catnip is funny for the same reason that Seth Rogen movies are funny. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then you probably aren't the right person to be nodding your head and agreeing with what I'm saying right now, with your arms crossed, being like, yeah, I understand that completely, that makes sense, I agree with everything that you just said, because it all makes sense to me, because I'm a very smart person, and I understand satire, because I watched The Big Lebowski, and let me tell you what, that movie had nothing to do with satire, but my favorite scene from that movie is the end when they throw the guy's ashes into the wind, and then they come back and hit the guys in the face. That's the funniest thing to me, because it's like, well, he's dead, and now he's in a mouth. Ugh. It's like that scene in Trainspotting when the guy sticks his hand in the toilet and then he's covered in toilet water. It's disgusting. Why would anybody want to do that? It's because he needed to get his keys, I think, is what it was. But I digress. Go watch Trainspotting if you haven't seen it. It's not that good of a movie, to be honest, but it's better than nothing, I guess. If you have nothing else to watch, you've already seen We Bought a Zoo, and you thought that was a good movie for some reason, and then people judged you harshly, as they should, for thinking that it was a good movie. I don't know what to tell you. If you're going to watch shit like that and then laugh at it, you're probably better off just watching, I don't know, the news or something, because that way you might actually be able to learn something. You don't really learn a lot from sitcoms. You learn how to... Basically, the point that you can take away from a sitcom is that it is okay for you to do whatever you want to, and things will just work out for you in the end, and that's just kind of how it goes. Things will just work out for you no matter what, because life is a fairy tale, and that's what children learn from Disney movies and from sitcoms like Meet Harry and the Hendersons. That's a good film, I guess. I don't know. That's just the first movie that I thought of. Baby's Day Out. That's a movie. I think that's something that we can both agree on, is that Baby's Day Out is a movie. And if you haven't seen that one, you can go on Red Letter Media, right? And you can watch a review by Harry Plinkett. It's a good reviewer. he's one of those satire guys, like one of those guys who doesn't really take it seriously when he's talking about shit. He makes a lot of jokes, but he does make some legitimate points. But sometimes he does things that are just absolutely off the wall bonkers, and you're like, are you being serious right now? Because I can't even really understand what you're talking about, and you've been saying all these words that have no coherent structure to them, and I just have to take it at face value that you're not yanking my chain or yanking something else. Wink, wink. And they'll be like, no, I'm not going to yank anything on your body. That's just what I'm not going to do. I don't want to yank you. So please, if you have to do any yanking, do it in your bathroom. That's all I'm going to say. So they're putting black people on money now. Did you know this? They're taking Alexander Hamilton off of the $20 bill and putting a black person on there. What do you think about that? I think it's okay. I think it's fine that they do this because it's progressive, right? That's what we're all about, is being progressive and making good decisions, and then being okay with our fellow men or women, because it's Harriet Tubman is the name, and she is a woman, a strong, beautiful woman who don't need no man, and is also dead, 100 years dead. Or more, probably. I don't know exactly how long people live for because I'm not a psychopath and I don't like look up people's ages and what they were last wearing when they died and what their last food was when they got autopsied and they pulled like a bagel out of the stomach or something like that. I'm not interested in that kind of thing. But let me tell you what, if you're interested in that kind of thing, you go right ahead and do that. Now, I've got a couple of people for you to go look up on Wikipedia, like the Tamad Shud case. Everybody should know about that if they're internet nerds like you are. Probably they know all about that sort of thing. I apologize. They should know all about that thing. You should know about that thing. That and the Beaumont children and the Hinterkaifeck. And basically, whenever somebody says, "Hey, recommend me some creepy Wikipedia articles," these are like there's like a grocery list, a laundry list of articles that people always talk about and share every single time, almost without fail. And that's just what I'm kind of getting at right now, is that these articles are very abundant and very prevalent in all of the like internet threads like this. And you probably know what I'm talking about. You probably understand exactly what I'm going after. Like that thing where those people died in rapid decompression and he got sucked through a hole that was like 18 inches wide or whatever. And it was like disgusting and all over the news. And it's just not something that you ever thought the human body was capable of, but then you found out that it was, and then you're like, oh my god, that's the worst thing I've ever heard before. That and the Holocaust. Well, that's kind of infuriating right there. That's not something that I was hoping would happen. Let's just see how this plays out. Love is a very strong thing that makes the world go around, right? So anyways, I think I'm going to bring this episode to a close here, and I hope you learned some new things. If you didn't learn some new things, then you probably weren't paying attention, because I was always talking about stuff that you didn't know before. So thank you for watching my show and not paying attention. Goodbye. Mwah.